All right, problem number 3. We need to solve a right triangle that has a 50-degree angle and a 15-inch hypotenuse. Okay? Give you a moment to write that down. Now, when it says solve a right triangle, as I mentioned before, what that means is that you got to find all the angles and find all the sides. Okay, so just because this is a 3-line, sentence right here, doesn't mean it's going to take us a moment to get all that done. All right, but it may not take us a long time to figure it out. All right, but we need to find all the sides and angles in this problem. Now, I think the best thing to do, of course, is to draw the picture. All right, so we're going to draw a picture that has a 50-degree angle and a 15-inch hypotenuse. So I'm going to take my triangle and draw it out, kind of like this. All right, I'm drawing off scale, and I'm going to label. We know it's a right triangle, so we're going to go and put the right angle there. And we also know that there's an angle measurement of 50 degrees. Let's just put that here. Okay. And we also know that there's a 15-inch hypotenuse. So we're going to put that here. All right? So that's what we know so far. Okay? Now, as always, you want to try to label your picture with angles. So I'm going to do A here, B here, and C there. Okay? Now, what is the easiest thing to find in this picture? What is the easiest thing to find in this picture? That's right. This angle right here. Because if I already know this is 50 and this is 90, then I know that this angle has to be 90 minus 50, which is 40. So I know that this angle is 40 degrees. Okay? So that helps us right there. Okay? Now, we have to find out what these sides are. Okay? And we're going to use our inverse tangents to come up with an answer. Now, since we have a hypotenuse, then what we want to do is we need to, of course, remember our word here, which, of course, is SOHCAHTOA. And we want to look for something that we can use that has a hypotenuse in it as well. Well, which of these parts can we eliminate to use? Yes, the only thing we can eliminate is here, because that has an opposite and an adjacent. So we could use either the sine or the cosine, inverse cosine or inverse sine, to come up with the answer to these questions, all right? So, it doesn't really matter which one to use, but, since it's closer to me, I guess I'll use sine, all right? So I'm gonna use sine to answer this question. Now, sine, remember, is opposite over hypotenuse, all right? What we want to do is we want to use one of these two angles to help us find one of these sides. So since we have the 50 to begin with, I say we use a sine of 50 degrees. So what we're going to do is we're going to write out our original problem, which is a sine of 50 degrees. This is from like what we did before. The sine of 50 degrees equals the ratio of the opposite, which is AB in this problem, and the hypotenuse, which is 15. Okay? So this looks kind of familiar now, right? So we're going to do the sine of 50 degrees equals AB over 15. All right? Now, we're just going to solve the problem. All right? So, what do you think we should do first? Well, I think we should find out what the sine of 50 degrees is. So we're going to do the sine of 50 degrees. So we're going to take sine on our calculator. So just press sine, not second sine, because we don't need inverse. Sine of 50 degrees, so we're going to put 50, close the parentheses. And as you can see, we're going to round this to 4 decimal places like we did before. We're going to do 0.7660. 4 is too low to round up. So I'm going to rewrite sine of 50 degrees as 0.7660. So 7660 equals AB over 15. All right? Now, we have a fraction over here. We have a decimal over there. So what we should do is we should make this side a fraction as well so that we can solve the proportion. So the easiest way to make this a fraction, put this over 1. So we have 0.7660 equal over 1 equals AB over 15. And now how do we solve the proportion? Cross multiply and divide. So multiply those two, multiply those two. So that gives me AB equal to 0.7660 times 15. All right? Because AB times 1 is AB. All right? So all you gotta do is multiply these two numbers and we're done. So go to your calculator, type in 0.7660 and times it by 15 to get 11.49. Now remember, these are approximate numbers. So we're gonna say that AB is approximately 11.49. And remember, it was inches, so we need to put inches. Okay? So we got our AB. All right? So I'm going to label that on my picture here too. All right? So 11.49 inches. And I should have put 15 inches here as well, but you understood what I was talking about. Now, all we got left to do is find what CB is. Okay? Now, some of you can say, yeah, I can just use Pythagorean theorem and be done with it. Sure. But let's make it a little interesting. Let's use something else. Let's say we use cosine, since we haven't done cosine yet in any of these problems. So I'm going to erase this. Hopefully you have this, right? I'm going to erase this. And I'm going to do the cosine of an adjacent over hypotenuse. Well, since we know that this is going to, since we need to find this, and we're going to use, and I'm going to use cosine, then my suggestion is we're going to stick with the same angle that we had, which is 50 degrees. So I'm going to do the cosine of 50 degrees equal to my adjacent, which in this case is CB, over 15. Oh, excuse me, over AC, which is my hypotenuse. That's what I should, yeah, so AC is my hypotenuse. All right, but I don't have to write the AC. I was right the first time. Just write 15, because 15 is my hypotenuse. All right? So we have CB over 15 equals the cosine of 50 degrees. Now, all we're going to do is find the cosine of 50 degrees, and then we're going to do a proportion just like we did the last time. So go to my calculator, press the cosine button. Remember, not second cosine, because that's for inverse, of 50 degrees. We're going to close the parentheses and press enter. And again, we're going to round it to the nearest 4 decimal places. So we got 0.6427. 8 actually rounds it up, so we're going to get 0.6428. So the cosine of 50 degrees is 0.6428, and we're going to solve that make that equal to CB over 15. All right? Once again, I'm going to make 0.6428 a fraction, because this is a fraction. So I'm going to put this over 1. And I'm going to cross multiply, which means I'm going to get CB times 1 to get CB equal to 0.6428 times 15. And again, there's no dividing because I had just a CB over here. So I'm just going to multiply 0.6428 to 15. So go to your calculator and type it in, 0.6428 times 15, and you get approximately 9.642. So again, we'll just round it a couple of decimal places, and we'll get 9.64. We'll just round it to 2 decimal places, and we need to do the approximate to get that. So once again, I'm going to write that here for my 9.64 inches. And we have a side here, a side there, a side there, and we have 3 angles here. And it looks like we have solved this right triangle.